Not to be dramatic, but the best comic book of the year came out last week, and essentially no one is talking about it. It's a comic that's got beautiful art, great writing, amazing action, heartfelt moments, everything you want in a superhero comic book. It's got it all. And that's why I'm making this video today, because I gotta spread the word, because I don't see near enough people talking about it. You may be asking, what is this comic? Well, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know, because I've been gushing about it. But it's Superman for All, the Treasury 2025 comic. This is written by Dan Jurgens, and the art is done by Bruno Redondo, but Dan Jurgens does has a few pages. He illustrates himself in this, and it's amazing. You may be looking at it and thinking, this is a comic book? It's huge. Yeah, it's in this giant magazine format. It is ginormous. It really feels like it feels like an event. It feels as big as it looks when you're reading it. The scope of the story and how everything's presented and how amazingly beautiful it is when you're reading it. You're like, wow, this really feels primo. That's how I feel. It feels preem, choom, is what I'm saying. It is amazing. And it's $15 and it's worth $15. It's 90 pages. It is huge. If you can, go to your local comic shop and get a physical edition. Of course, you can read it digital and you'll still enjoy it, but I would suggest, even if you don't have a local comic shop, at least grab a copy online, go online and get one, because it's an experience reading that thing physically, and it's amazing. So that's my pitch. Go read it. And now I'm going to get into the story. I will be spoiling it, so there's your warning. Let's get into the story of this thing. So timeline wise, this is not a current Superman book. This isn't what currently is going on with like Joshua Williamson or Action Comics, Mark Waid, or any of that. This is a flashback book. This takes place a little bit after a backup story that Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks were doing in Action Comics a while ago. They had a backup story with John Kent that was really good, and it's referencing this, and so it takes place a few months after that. So John's still a kid. He's still a good character. This is pre-Bendis getting his hands on him and ruining him. So the story opens up with John, Lois, Mom, Pa Kent, and Clark at the top of the Daily Planet building, and a robot is attacking Metropolis. And Superman's like, I got a bad feeling about this. John, you go with Mom, Pa, and they're going to take you to Smallville and keep you safe while I deal with what's going on in Metropolis, because this just feels weird. So Superman then goes and he fights this robot, and it's a really cool fight. Bruno Redondo, just chef's kiss, amazing. Everything looks so good. The way he draws Superman going around the city and fighting this giant robot looks awesome. And especially for this format, his art style really fits like this gigantic, grandiose format. It really works well. It works perfectly. They chose the perfect artist for this type of book, for this giant magazine format. Bruno Redondo really takes every advantage of this giant format. It's just, I can't express enough how every page looks amazing. Again, get your hands on a physical copy if you can. So he fights this robot. It's a great fight. Something that I really like is where, generally speaking, when there's a fight, you're inside the character's head and you know what they're thinking. In this part of the fight, you're not really getting that. You're getting commentary from people watching, from the citizens of Metropolis. They're like, oh, Superman's fighting this robot. Superman's doing this. And it's really well done. Dan Jurgens has a good voice for the people of Metropolis, so it's really cool. They're like, Superman's going to fight that robot. He's doing this and that. And it's like, oh. And later on, this happens too. When Superman's fighting someone, one person's like, yeah, kill him, Superman. And another person's like, Superman doesn't kill people. Like, are you new here? I really like it. I love the citizens of Metropolis just like commentating on Superman fighting the big bads in the city. It's really cool. Superman takes out the robot really fast. He's like, wow, that was easy. I'm surprised. That robot I thought would be a tougher fight. I don't even know really what happened. And then he has a weird conversation with Lois and then Lex Luthor, and it's really weird. And then we get a flashback to Clark when he was a kid in Smallville, and we see that he's just playing with his friends in Smallville, and then they get called inside into the bunker because they're like into the basement because like, hey, there's a tornado coming, and then Pa Kent dies in a tornado. It's like, what's going on? We just saw Pa Kent in the modern day. How'd he die in a tornado in this flashback? This is so weird. And then we see the heroes dealing with an alien invasion. There's an alien invasion happening now. We see this big armada show up. They destroy the Justice League Watchtower instantly. And it's like, what is going on here? Why isn't Superman dealing with us? Why are we seeing this weird flashback? And the heroes are like, where's Superman? Lois is like, where'd Clark go? The last thing we saw, he was fighting this robot. Now he's gone. And also I should mention that throughout this, there's this like ominous narrator that's like, Superman is the greatest hero here. Every single other person on this planet is his underling and is not as important as he is and is inferior to him. And if we take him out, it'll be easy peasy, lickety split. We'll be able to take over Earth and do whatever we want. So Superman's somehow taken out of the way. At this point, we don't know how. And also the Justice League Watchtower gets destroyed. So things aren't going good. The heroes are trying to fight this armada, but it's not going well for them. And then it's revealed that the person behind this is Lady Maxima, and she is aided by Cyborg Superman. And if you don't know who Maxima is, she's a Superman villain from the 80s. She originally, when she showed up, her thing was just she comes from a race of people that have just been getting better and better, being warlords and just upping the ante every time with that next generation. So they go all around and they find the best bloodline, and then they take those people in and they just make their race better and more superior. And she's part of these people. They're very rich. They've been conquering. They're conquerors, and she's been trying to find someone worthy of her to continue the lineage. And she found Superman because of when he was fighting Mongol and when he was doing all that on Warworld originally during Superman Exile, during that whole arc back then. That's how she saw Superman. She's like, oh, I'm impressed by this guy. So she went to Earth and she tried to seduce him and get him to join her. And Superman was like, nah, I'm not into that. Also, this was a weird time when Superman was being influenced by the Eradicator, but he didn't know it. So he's kind of becoming like a prude and a stooge and like not even really knowing it and losing his emotion and becoming more like robotic Kryptonian, because this was post John Byrne, where in the John Byrne comics, what Krypton was very just like cold and scientific and unfeeling, and that's something that Jor-El had learned to go against because of studying humanity, for sending Superman there, for sending Kal-El there, because he's like, wow, I've learned to love more from studying the humans. Like he talks about Laura, I love you so much, and I've learned this more from the humans. I'm going way off track with this, but anyways, yeah, she she found Superman because she saw him fighting Mongol. She thought he was really hot and that he was powerful, and she loved that he defied Mongol, because Mongol tells him to kill Draga when they're fighting, and he denied her, and he's like, whoa, I like that. And then she tried to get Superman to be with her, and Superman's like, no, and she's like, how dare you? So she tries to beat him. Superman's up beating her up, and she gets captured. And that was her initial first appearance, and then, or first and second appearance, and then after that she shows up again and again, and she even helped try to fight Doomsday. Remember, a gas station explodes on her, because she joined the League at one point. They even mention in the comic, Batman, in this comic right here, the Treasury, Batman's like, yeah, she chilled out for a bit and joined the League, but something must have pissed her off. We learned that what pissed her off is the fact that Superman has a child with Lois, because she's mad. She's like, I could have given you a whole, like, warrior race of children. We could have conquered the galaxy, and instead you chose this feeble, weak woman to give you a child, this human woman. She's so mad about that. She is not a fan of Lois at all. But during this, we see these weird flashbacks again. We saw Pa Kent die out of nowhere, which was kind of random. And then now we flash forward and we see that Clark's working on the farm helping his mom because, his dad died when he was a kid. And Lex shows up because him and Lex have been childhood buddies. And at this point in this weird origin, and it's like, what's going on? And Lex is like, hey, come to, you're meant for more than working on the farm in Smallville. Come to college with me in Metropolis. And Ma Kent is like, yeah, go to college with me. He's like, I can't, Ma, I gotta help you. He's like, no, I got stuff figured out. You'll be fine. So they go to college together, and then they live in Metropolis together, and they work out to where Lex is a bigwig in Metropolis. He gives him a job at the Daily Planet, and Lois shows up, and Lois is like, hey, Smallville. Clark turns. She's not even looking at Clark. She's looking at Lex. She calls Lex Smallville, and it is just like the most gut-wrenching moment. Like, oh, that's so wrong. Lois calling Lex Smallville. That hurts. That's like a different level. Oh, her calling Lex Smallville hurts. And then later on, we get more of this flashback, was that her and Lex have 2 kids together, and everything just starts going haywire. And we'll get back to that in a little bit. We see Earth's heroes get defeated and captured. We see Wonder Woman get beat up by Cyborg Superman. We see several heroes get defeated, and basically 99% of them just get taken off the board very quickly. So then Maxima sets her sights on John Kent and Lois. So she sends some people after John. John is there trying to fight him off, trying to protect Mom, Pa Kent, and they're also trying to protect him. Then we see Galana, I think, however you pronounce her name. She was the princess girl from the Action Comics backstory that I mentioned earlier in the video. She had this whole plot where she tried to capture John to lure Superman in for her evil plot thing in that story, which I'm not going to get into. But she shows up and she's like, hey, John, I'm actually here to help you now. I'm not part of this. Because she showed up originally with Maxima acting like she's part of it, but it seems like she's changed her ways and she's trying to do good now. So she helps John fight these guys. And also during this, Lois then gets attacked. And when Cyborg Superman goes after Lois, Batman shows up. Lois gets in the Batmobile and she's like, Batman, I hate to break it to you, but Cyborg Superman's way faster than Batmobile. we're doomed. With the Justice League off the board, who's left? And Batman says something along the lines of someone who's as invested in Metropolis as we are. And we see that Lex Luthor shows up in his power armor and starts fighting the Cyborg Superman. He lasts about a couple 2 or 3 panels and then gets a beat. He gets subdued almost instantly, but he does enough so that way they can get Lois and Batman away to Lex's bunker, and it's covered in nth metal, so it's hard for them to find. So they are in there, and during this we get some origins for Maxima and Cyborg Superman, because it's very new reader friendly. This is the book for everyone, essentially. But especially if you saw the Superman movie and you're like, hey, I'm really hyped on Superman, you go to comic shop, oh wow, there's all these Superman comics, this is the one you should pick up, because it's as much as it's steeped in the lore of Superman, because there's a lot of throwbacks, it's very new reader friendly. It's not very daunting. There's all these characters and it gives you backstory on them. It's done well too. It doesn't feel bad the way it's done. It doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like, oh, of course we're covering this and this and this. No, it feels very natural. Dan Jurgens does a great job here. Back to those flashbacks, things get even more insane. We see that Lex and Lois have a family together. Superman is now old. Well, he's Clark. He never was Superman. He's never had any powers. He's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet, and he's getting upset in the flashbacks. He's getting mad.
And then we find out that Superman never actually beat that robot at the beginning of the issue. So we see that when he flew into that robot's chest at the beginning, he never actually came out. Everything since then has been an illusion. He flew into a trap. He got trapped in this tank that takes away all his senses, and he's just been flown around in this robot to keep him away from anyone trying to free him.
And there's this person that is manipulating his mind, this alien that's manipulating his mind, and it's like, I'm having him in this dream world, giving him everything he should want, and really making it to where he shouldn't want to leave. He shouldn't be able to leave, and he shouldn't want to leave. It's kind of like the Black Mercy. Remember from the Alan Moore story where Mongol puts the Black Mercy on Superman and it's supposed to give him everything he wants, and then he ends up escaping it, where he's on Krypton, has a son and a wife and all that. It's like that. They did the Justice League Unlimited episode on it. It's kind of like that, except instead of Black Mercy, it's this alien that's able to try to manipulate his mind. But he's Superman. He's too strong for that. Didn't work with the Black Mercy. It doesn't work here. So he starts fighting back, and it's awesome. We see Superman start to remember his true past, and this is where we get the Dan Jurgens pages, and there's these full-on wonderful pages that just recap Superman's entire backstory, from being a little kid on Krypton, from being a little baby, getting shot to Earth, to getting picked up by the Kents, to even to meeting Lois, to getting married to Lois, and dying, and every single thing that happens. I said some of that out of order, but it just shows his entire history up to this point before Bendis. Because it's funny, we get to Jor-El coming back when he was Mr. Oz and all that, but it's before the Bendis stuff. So it's funny seeing like, oh, look at all this great Superman history, and even some of the silly stuff is covered in there, like Red and Blue Superman. But it's great. Again, it's very new for reader friendly. It's covering a lot of stuff where it's like, ooh. And they definitely should have, something that they didn't do, but I wish they would have. In the back of the book, they should have had recommendations for all these stories to be like, hey, if you thought this page was cool with this guy, you should check out this comic. Like all that, like Triangle Era and Dan Jurgens Superman, they should have had that on there. One of my favorite lines during this flashback is to talk about when he first met Lois. He says, Superman sparked her interest, but Clark captured her heart. And it's like, yes, that's something that almost none of the movies or TV shows get, because they always go like, Clark's such a loser that she hates, but she loves Superman, and then Clark reveals that he's Superman. Suddenly she likes Clark too. And that happens almost all the time, and it annoys the crap out of me. And in this, we don't get that because it's the comic, so it's great. And I love that little line. It's so good. And then through all these flashbacks, Superman remembers, like he starts actually remembering with these Dan Jurgens pages. It's amazing. And then we get this beautiful splash page where he's just like, you thought you could do this to me. You thought you could manipulate me. Not when I remember. And I'm just going to show you, I'll show you on screen like a digital version, and I'll also show you the physical to show you how amazing this looks. Because this, just look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at how big that is. That is, oh my goodness. That looks amazing. And it's so good. He's like, not when I remember. Such a good page. And he breaks out of that tank that was holding him. When Superman breaks out, he then destroys Maxima's entire armada in space. So he takes out most of the forces. She still got ground troops, but he takes out the armada. And a beautiful page from Bruno Redondo where he's just zip, zip, zip going. And it's so awesome looking. And something that Dan Jurgens does a fantastic job at is really creating a job for Superman. Like, this is a job for Superman. These even stay in the beginning where it's like, none of these other heroes could do this. And then we see it play out where these other heroes try, but they can't. Superman is the guy. It's a job for Superman. Dan Jurgens done this before with Death of Superman. Here he does it amazingly, where it's like he does a good job at creating, like, here's his threat and only Superman can stop it. He's the only guy that can do it. And I love that. And that's what you want from a comic like this. And he goes, he takes them all out. And then we see that Maxima panics. She's like, oh crap, Cyborg Superman, go find Lois Lane. So Cyborg Superman finds Lois Lane in the bunker, and Batman's like, Cyborg Superman, I've theorized that the part of you that's Superman I could hurt with kryptonite. So he pulls out kryptonite, or tries to, from his utility belt, and Cyborg Superman's like, yeah, if you could use it, and just heat visions his hand. And Batman's like, ah! And then Superman shows up and saves Batman and Lois from Cyborg Superman. And Cyborg Superman's like, what, you think you can beat me, bro? You think you can do this? We already took out all your heroes. You're alone. And Superman's like, what do you think I was doing since I escaped? And it shows that he had freed a lot of the heroes that were captured. There's still some that are captured, but freed a lot. Green Lantern Corps is there, and they just instantly capture Cyborg Superman. And then he's like, I'm gonna go after Maxima. And Wonder Woman's like, you want some backup? And he's like, no, this is personal. So he goes after her. They have a nice little fight. It's pretty cool. And again, we get that, like, we get the commentary from the people, and he talks to a nice family afterwards. He takes out Maxima. He saves the day, and then at the end we see he's leading the initiative to clean up the city and help everyone, because some stuff happened during this. You know, some people got hurt and a lot of damage happened, but in the end, Superman saved the day, and it's such a good story. And yeah, I just wanted to make a video on this because it's my favorite comic of the year. I think it's something that's great for people that have been a long-time fan of Superman, that know a lot about the character, and new fans that don't necessarily know much, that maybe just saw the movie and want a good comic to read. This is something that's for everyone, and it's handled so well. It's rare you get a comic like this, and it is my favorite comic so far of 2025. Again, we're only in July. There could definitely be a better comic that comes out, but this was amazing, and it really feels premium. Like, just reading it, everything feels like just this massive scope in the best way possible, just looking at this gigantic magazine comic, and the writing is up to par with the art. Everything's amazing, and I can't recommend it enough. You should read it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you read it, let me know in the comments below, what did you think about it? Did you like it? And also, just in general, what is your favorite comic of the year? Because this is mine. I just gushed about it for this whole video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it, and I'll see y'all later.
Hey, skinny boy, saucy boy, I be running to the bank. Yeah, you know I hit the gas in the whip full tank. Riding past the ocean while I'm listening to Frank.